Hello, my name is Dr. Cheryl Wright. I am a religious history professor at one of the world's top universities. I've spent the last 10 years of my life studying various religious beliefs, their texts, artifacts, rituals, and noting that nearly all have consistent undertones of a malevolent force for which one should be wary of for fear of being entangled by and possibly spending an eternity with, in the darkness, in the cold, or in the fires, away from the light, the ever-knowing, the salvation, or some variation of this theme. When I approached my colleagues about the subject which I am releasing today, they, every one, had a look of either fear, disbelief, and even anger. I was consistently told that this was not a subject to be discussed. I am a tenured professor. I will explain what that means here to better clarify the position I am in. When a professor is granted tenure at an academic institution, he or she is receiving a specific set of administrative and legal rights that includes the freedom to pursue any academic research without fear of repercussions or losing their job. Tenured faculty positions are, in some sense, seen as jobs for life. Yet, to my surprise, I received a letter, not an email, nothing traceable. It wasn't even signed. However, I know the handwriting quite well, having been guided myself by this professor, who now holds a place on the board. The letter read that there are certain circumstances in which tenure can and will be removed. A tenured professor can and will be removed for incompetence, insubordination, immorality, moral turpitude, or neglect of duty. And that what I was preparing to do was coming dangerously close to breaking my morality clause, as well as moral turpitude. As you may have guessed by now, I was and am stunned. I have been publishing works on every type of religion known to man, currently, and those nearly lost to time. I have been critical. I have supported unpopular opinions. I have invited witch doctors, Satanists, priests, rabbis, and shamans, and never have I been threatened before. In fact, I have been highly rewarded for my work amongst my peers, receiving many prestigious awards. That is, until now. Therefore, as I am not one to scurry away in fear, as you might imagine, having eaten with a tribe of cannibals on one occasion, I have decided to release this into the public domain of the internet, where not only students, professors, and my fellow colleagues can see, but everyone can read the work I've done on the most brutal, dangerous, and frightening text I've ever seen and witnessed. I have interviewed many people who will not come out of their dark corners for fear of retribution, people so deeply terrified that some grew ill and became sick while recounting their stories. One in which the text clearly states that the light and the malevolence are the same entity, one hidden in what passes as children's poems, songs, stories. One which warns you of the repercussions and does not fear rebuke. Make no mistake, I am fearful, least of all for my employment, but mostly for the consequences that I may face from him, the malevolent being, the one known by many names. Father Christmas, Saint Nick, Santa Claus. You better watch out. You better not cry. Better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. The threat is very real and strikes fear in the hearts of children. But as I've studied, children aren't yet immune to the tactics used to scare people into behaving. In fact, most adults are rarely immune to the same tactic. Many adults live their lives afraid that if they veer off course, there will be a black eternity of emptiness, a fiery hell, a life returned to earth as an insect, or perhaps a tree, unable to communicate with their loved ones. But they forget the very real threat of watching out if one cries or pouts. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good, for goodness sake. This text, for those that know the truth, is the hardest to process, as they remember the punishment for pouting or crying. A visit in the dark of night. When they were children, they'd feel the presence in their room, ask their parents to look under their bed, in the closet. Please leave a light on. The terror of knowing that they were being watched. Feeling him there as they nodded off, he'd slowly, quietly slither into their minds, into their dreams, embodying their biggest fears and bringing them to reality, sending them running to their parents, wet with perspiration, shaking from head to toe, begging to sleep in their bed rather than go back to the room where they knew he was waiting for them. As those same kids grew older, becoming adults, they would tell me the encounters that they have now. Beads of sweat at their temples, their faces red, their hands shaking, trying to keep the cigarette still, holding the glass of whiskey as the ice taps the side of the glass, being held in a hand, trying not to hold on too tight, but the knuckles are white. They tell me of lying in bed, paralyzed. They hear him coming into the room. Slowly, they feel his presence, his body, his breath, his dark eyes, his rough hands as he takes off the bright white gloves, straddling their waist, running the back of his hand across their cheek One of his nails slides across their throat just before he puts those cold hands over their mouth and pushes their head back into their pillow as they lay motionless, trying to struggle, trying to scream, trying to wake up. Many self-medicating. The warmth of the alcohol as it slides down their throat. The soothing pain of the needle. All knowing the one truth. The one true religion. The one true angel who is the one true malevolent force who watches and knows when you are sleeping and knows when you are awake. Like so many other religious texts before and after, the making of a list. Who is allowed into heaven or Alam Haba, to paradise, or to moksha, or nirvana? A concept of good and evil condensed into 2 words: deeds or faith. Who is naughty or nice? And for those, either of those, good or evil. The faithful or the faithless. The karma. The one true redeemer or punisher is Father Christmas, Saint Nick, Santa Claus, and he's coming to town. So you'd better watch out. Thank you for coming to my channel. If you're not already and you'd like to be, please don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you like this story, please take the time to give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to be notified of my new content, go ahead and hit that bell. Good night.